Well, hello and welcome, Applied Math. This is Mr. Robinson here. Happy Friday, and with the Friday, you have Q&A Power Hour video, and I just hit something. And I'm going to go ahead and start it for you right here. Yours is separate from Math 1, so no Math 1 based questions here, at least I don't assume so. But also, not really very many Week 2 questions that I saw here, so it's a good thing that I did pop up something else. I'm going to show you a little something here, and I want to talk about what these Q&A Power Hours are specifically for. I want to make sure that you understand them fully. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Google Classroom here. I'll find one for Applied Math, and I want to show you that I did happen to link you guys to an old Q&A video, two old Q&A videos that I had made from previous years when we did things on simplifying, let me show you here, simplifying, distributing, and factoring quadratic expressions here. Now we're going to be in quadratics for the next 2 weeks following this one, so weeks 2, 3, and 4 are all based on quadratics. Understanding what we have this week is important, obviously going into the next couple weeks. These are two old Q&A videos here. Not every question in here, there were about 10-ish probably questions each. Not every question applied specifically to what we're doing for this particular week. There are probably some questions that are going to be used and helpful for future weeks when we do this stuff. But if you look at these questions at these specific times here, this is the best stuff for what you're doing for this week. Because again, the questions that you're looking at right here on this side don't really pertain as much to quadratics. So the questions you guys have here are varied a little bit. So if you want questions on the stuff we're doing right now, look at these old Q&As right here when I did these. Find the times when they're asked and answered, and that can help you best. So it's a good thing I put that thing up because they weren't, the questions we have right now don't really pertain as much to what we're doing now. So to just point to a little more here, what is the Q&A Power Hour and what does it take care of here? Well, every week on Tuesday, when you get the new week's material, I reopen, it's closed right now, but I reopen the submission form, the form submission question submission form. There we go. Question submission form. Right here, it's closed right now. Like I said, you anonymously ask and then I answer for you. Questions are answered in the order in which they are received. Now, the questions are supposed to be based on the content we're doing for each week. For example, week 0, you were just getting acclimated to Google Classroom, Zoom, Khan Academy, iExcel, things like that. So it's really just all about distance learning in general. Week 1 was on systems of equations, elimination, substitution, some of the word problems, things like that. And this week, week 1 was on that, and week 2 is on the quadratic expressions, simplifying, distributing, and factoring. So like I said, these questions weren't really too much on that, and if you have more general navigation questions, I understand it. Week 1's material has come and gone though, so I did see there was something on elimination in here. I can't remember, I just saw it, literally. And, I'll answer it as long as it wasn't answered before, but keep in mind, try and ask questions based on the week that it's on, so the focus really stays, so we stay on a certain focus for each and every week. And that's why you have to see the questions that's why you have to see the work beforehand. So I give you a 4-day window from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, probably 3 days, whatever. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to figure some of the stuff out because I want to get the video out for the weekend for those who actually need to then get the stuff answered. Hopefully you've watched some of the videos, you've tried some of the work, and when you're struggling, you have this question. You can always ask me in Zoom. You can always send me emails or ask me with an assignment if it's pertinent and you can't wait till Friday, or it's too personal and you feel like you don't want it to be asked to everybody. But if you feel like it's a nice general question everyone can ask, and you're not going to look at the stuff until later anyway, and you think it's just going to be a nice way to fill out the video, completely fine with that as well. All right, so I want to get to these questions now here, and some of them, I don't know if I can give you the best answer just yet, and I'll tell you about it in a moment. So the first question that's asked is, I understand you run your class how you want to, but I was wondering if you could cut back maybe one worksheet. I have a lot of classes with a lot of work to do, and it's kind of stressful. Okay, so a couple parameters with this one here. Number 1, worksheet probably means iExcel assignments, the activities themselves. Second thing, running it how I want to, it's not how I want to, it's how we have to when it comes to it. Because what you have to think about here, and this is really answering the question, remember this whole situation. We lost 5 weeks of school. Remember, we lost 5 weeks of school. I mentioned it a couple times in classes that we only had 3 more months of school. It was the time we have March, April, and May. 3 months and 3 units left. We had systems of equations, quadratics, and transformations. So I said we can probably average on pace a month a unit. That's 4 weeks. I just crammed 1 month's worth of material, probably 3 weeks worth of material into 1 week on systems of equations to the best that I could to try and keep it within a half hour a school day when it comes to the videos you would watch and the stuff that you would practice. I tried my best. I believe I did. It's necessary stuff for you to have. Quadratics, we're cramming 4 weeks. It's not really 4 weeks worth of stuff. It's really 6 to 8 weeks worth of stuff, but we were going to do it in 4 weeks, and I'm crushing that into 3 weeks right now. So the thing on quadratic expressions is going to carry on to the next week in solving quadratic equations, and then the final one into graphing quadratic form. The last one might be able to be spread out a little bit more. We'll see with graphing form, but there's a lot to do with graphing as well, so I want to see that thing through. So you might have less of a workload on week 4, for example. Let's look at week 2's stuff here, because I understand, especially compared to week 1. I'm inside the classwork here for applied math. Week 1, 4 IXL assignments. On the last IXL assignment with word problems, you only had to get 2 correct. These ones, you had to get a SMART score of 80. I told you somewhere, you had to get a SMART score of 80. Okay, so 4 assignments, and then your assessment. Week 2, if you click View More, it's a lot bigger looking. But let's keep a few things in mind here. Number 1, the daily set puzzle is one of them, and I always drag that up to the newest week, so that doesn't count. Number 2, you have pairs of optional sets right here. Optional for combining like terms, adding and subtracting polynomials. Optional for special cases, difference of 2 squares, perfect square trinomials, and distribution. And optional for factoring special cases, difference of 2 squares, and perfect square trinomials right there. So those 6 you can eliminate. Down to IXL, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 required activities instead of 4. But instead of getting a SMART score of 80, I'm only asking for a SMART score of 50. So in terms of workload compared to last week, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily much more. If you're saying that both weeks had a lot of stuff, going back to the question, I have a lot of classes with a lot of work to do and it's kind of stressful. One question they still do now have is, do you ask that to your other teachers? Do you say, Mr. Robinson, can you cut back on your class because these other classes are making me do a lot of stuff? Or do you also ask your English teacher, Mr. Whatever, Miss Whatever, can you cut back on your class because I have a lot of stuff to do in my other classes? Hopefully mine isn't a lower priority case where it says, oh, no, I got to do the work for this class, so you got to cut stuff in your class. Well, to answer the question, that's not how that's going to work, okay? Just keep that in mind. That's not how that's going to work there, especially. So I'm not going to respond to that particular whim in that, so you can take care of your other classes where they give you a lot of work, I'm going to cut back on mine. I can't do it that way. Or I'm not going to do it that way. That seems unfair. Now, is it a lot of work, and does it seem just that we're doing a lot of work? It's a lot of work if you don't know the material. Excuse me. It's going to take more time if you don't know the material. Okay. It is new material because it's Math 2 based. Remember, applied math takes half of Math 1, half of units are in Math 1, half of units are in Math 2, or at least units 5 and 6 are Math 2. The transformation stuff, I take that back. That's kind of Math 1 stuff. But you're going to have to use this to go into Math 2. So is it new stuff for you? Probably a little new. According to the survey polls, a lot of people knew how to combine like terms. A lot of people knew basic distribution. So the very first, and sorry, I thought you could see me this whole time. I'm doing a lot of nonverbal stuff like blah, 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 blah. So you didn't see my face. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to go back to this now, though. So the very first assignment here is basic multiplying by a monomial. So a lot of people said they already knew how to do that. SMART score of 50, guys, means you just need 7 in a row. Correct. Seven correct problems. They go very fast for that set. I made a video here down to miscellaneous stuff I did a speed run of all the activities, including the optional ones. I did all of those within this video right here. And yes, I know the material and I could do it mentally, stuff like that, but it took me less than 10 minutes in total. That's including the optional ones. That's including typing this stuff out and talking in between and such. So if you want to look at that for a speed run, you sure can. I explained some of the stuff if you want to see it. Not in great detail. That's not really loading for me anymore. But the point is, if you know the material, it's not a lot of work. If you don't know the material, there are a couple things in the videos to do. And I'm sorry that I'm staying on this question for a while because I want to try and appease those as to why I'm doing this and all that. You have to remember what this particular class is about, and really what all classes are about here. When you pass a class, it says that you're ready for the next class to take. The majority of students are in applied math, less by choice, more by logic of reason for how Math 1 went for you guys. Some people chose to be here, but you have to remember that my goal is to get you back on the right track to prep you so that you're ready for Math 2. This material is necessary. Remember, we did lose 5 weeks. Remember, we went slowly for the first 3 weeks. We didn't spend a semester on it. We spent a semester and 2 months on the first 3 weeks. We had 4 weeks per. So I went slowly for a long time to appease whoever wanted to spend a long time doing things. Now, I'm not speaking to all periods in that sense, but I spent that pacing in that way. Hopefully it was helpful at the time. Now we're in crunch time mode, guys. We have to. I don't have a lot of time to do a lot of things here. The quadratics, I'm trying to spread out as much as possible. Okay, I'm trying to spread it out as much as possible. So I hope that I'm able to do that for you. I do feel bad if you feel like it's a lot of work, but you are doing less work here than you'd be doing in regular school. Remember, you're only doing a half hour a day on average. That's the assumed pace. Okay, whereas I would see you every other day for an hour and a half. So average that is 45 minutes a day. That's daily set puzzle, things like that. But look, there's some learning to be had now. And I am trying to consolidate it. Trust me. That's why I made those other ones optional. I'm trying, smart scores of 50. I'm trying to consolidate it as much as humanly possible. I really am. Is it stressful? Yeah, I don't doubt that this is stressful. This is new. The distance learning stuff's new and all that stuff. So I am feeling bad on that front, but I need to prep you for Math 2. If I lighten the load and we don't cover everything, you won't be ready for Math 2. And you'll be passing and moving on to something that you're not ready for. I need to ensure for you guys that you are prepared for the next step. That is my responsibility. And I'm the only applied math teacher. So this is my pacing that I'm setting here. Okay. That being said, if you don't understand quadratics this first week, we are doing quadratics the next week with new stuff, but we are still factoring next week and combining like terms and distributing. We are doing those things next week as well, so maybe that's a good pick-me-up to go into there, and I hope that's helpful there. Can I cut back? I tried to for this thing, so I made smart scores of 50, and I made those other things optional. Can I cut back further? Not in terms of the time that we have left, and what's necessary for you to move on to Math 2. So I'm sorry about that. And I think week 4 will be a little lighter. And I hope weeks 5 and 6, I hope weeks 4, 5, and 6 will be lighter for you guys. I do. I understand that this week's going to be a little hectic. And next week might not be hectic. There's only 3 big things you're going to learn in general. So we'll see how that one goes. I think that should be fine. But you got to know this week to do next week. Okay. I think, for the most part. All right, so with that question down, I know I spent a long time on that question. That question down, let's go ahead to the next question. The next question is, are we going to have a test, and if so, when will it be? So if you're talking about the weekly assessment stuff, yeah, I haven't actually popped open, I haven't uploaded your test yet. You know, generally when you see this, we look at week 1, there was the distance learning assessment. There will be a week 2 distance learning assessment. By the time you see this video, it will be up. Now, I've been working on it, and I need to tell you guys this very specifically. Well, a couple things. Number 1, are you going to have a test? Yes. I'll make it due next Friday. Now, that does cut into week 3, things like that, but I'll just give some people some leeway because if you were waiting to take it, and then you're like, Mr. Robinson, now I don't have any more time. I got to work on my other classes, things like that. I can't now get it done by Tuesday morning. I get it. I'll have it till next Friday, and I'm sorry about that. The problem has been, and I have to talk about this, and I'm not going to spend a long time because I've said it. I've talked about it in Daily Bulletin. You'll see it on your assessment as well. The problem has been several students being academically dishonest when it comes to the integrity of their work and their assignment submissions. People are using digital assistants, that's not called a calculator, digital assistants to arrive at answers that is not their own work and does not guarantee that they have learned what's happening. Assessments are meant to evaluate what you know and what you have learned. Based on what I've seen in IXL, I can't pull questions from, say, IXL, slap them on an assessment, and see that it's a clear-cut way of showing that you know the material. Whether or not you BS your way through the IXL stuff so far has been up to you. I can't make this assessment that. Maybe some questions kind of have to ish be that. But I got to see that you've at least grasped and learned some of it. See, it's one thing, and this sounds kind of weird because every year teachers have to do CPR training and, mandatory reporting training and, child protective, all these different trainings. Now I know that stuff. I know it like the back of my head. We still have to do the training. It's still required. But I already know the stuff. So sometimes when we do online training for it, I can find ways to kind of just, let the video play through because we're required to watch videos. Maybe I'll let the video play while I go make some food. And I listen to it, but I'm not actively, here we go. And then when the questions come for the next thing, I'm ready to answer them because I know the material. Now, am I calling that cheating? No, not really. But it's not really absorbing the stuff there. But that's okay because I already know the material. So if you already know the material and you find your way through assessments in a kind of digital assistance way, maybe. But I cannot let this assessment be, and I know people are asking about this testing, I cannot let this assessment be just a nice way of you getting 100% on it and having not learned a thing. That's not fair for you going into Math 2. That's not fair for other students who are trying very hard to learn the material and earning their particular grade and you getting a higher grade as a result of it. So why have I not uploaded this test yet? Because I'm trying to find a way to make the questions as photomath free as possible. And I got to say the word photomath. And that's a general blanket umbrella term for any other assistance that you guys might be using and having. You can't use the stuff. And right now, there's no way for me to account for it. There's no way for me to provide evidence for it. But there is reasonable doubt. And there's probable cause. And in that, I have the right to inform others about it, which is you, which is your parents or guardians, which is administration about the stuff. And you, obviously, have a right to appeal, innocent until proven guilty, everything like that. But I'll tell you what, guys, I have a list. I have a list of people who I'm going to have my eye on for this kind of stuff. All right? And it's because of this that this test is going to be looking a little bit different. Okay? It's not just going to ask you to distribute and just to factor. It might ask something within the distribution and factoring, how or why you know something. And you either have to explain something or put it in multiple choice form. I might have some factoring things along the way because I still just got to see you could factor. And for those who are trying it that way, thank you. Who are trying it normally and naturally and through what you've learned, thank you. For those who are not, I'm sorry, but the test is going to be a little different. And it's going to start off, the test is going to start off with an integrity agreement. And the integrity agreement is going to say that you, from here on out, are going to stop using digital assistants the way that you should be, especially if you haven't learned the material, okay? Especially if you haven't learned the material. So, are we going to have a test, and if so, when will it be? For week 2, your assessment should be already up by the time you see this video. So, that's when it will be. When will it be due? You'll have until next Friday, okay? I hope other tests that we have won't have to look like this current one. So I hope that when I monitor IXL, guys, I want to make sure that you understand what I can see on IXL. I can see your SMART score. I can see every single problem that you've attempted and what you've answered on it, whether right or wrong. I can see how long you've spent on IXL, how long you've spent on each problem and on each activity, probably each problem as well. And listen to this, when you do 20 factoring problems with a leading coefficient of 1 in 3 minutes, that is not honest work. Okay? Make sure you're doing this the correct way. Maybe you use photomath for different ways to help assist you, and there are ways to make it useful, and I can give you a list someday. Maybe it's to check and make sure that you got the right answer before you hit that button to check. Okay, that's fine, but do it honestly leading up to it. And I'm saying this very seriously, or else these assessments are going to be assuming you need to provide higher depth of knowledge, showing that you know how to do the material, and they'll continue that way. Okay. All right, so sorry that I had to kind of run into that for a long time there, and to answer the question, Friday, up Friday, due Friday. All right, with that one down, hopefully these will go a little faster here. The next question here is, how do I join Zoom meetings? So although I do have a video on how to Zoom, that's assuming you've already joined a Zoom meeting. And other Q&As talked about or Zoom required, things like that. But nothing's ever asked, how do I join Zoom? So I'm going to go and answer this one. So how do I join Zoom meetings? If you go into classwork here from your applied math section, take a look where it says daily Zoom sessions 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And look, that's not just a header. If you click on it, there's more information. And within here, you can actually see how you join a Zoom meeting. You can do this either on a phone. I've tried it. You can either do this on a phone or you can do it on a computer. Now, when I do it, when I click on this thing, it asks permission, it requests permission for me to open my software program, to open my app that's downloaded on my computer. If you don't have it on your computer, it might ask you to download it. If you're on a Chromebook, I don't know specifically how it works because you might not be able to download it on the computer. So I don't know how that works. There might be some sort of app you can go online to check it out. But if you click this link, and if I'm on between 1 and 2, whatever, you can type in the password, lowercase applied, all one word. You won't need the meeting ID if you click the link. But if you don't click the link, you can type in the meeting ID. You can go to Zoom. You can hit join a Zoom, type in this meeting ID. You don't need the spaces. Just type it out. It'll fill it out. Password applied, and it should bring you into a waiting room. And if I see you in that waiting room, I'll just admit you in. So that's how you join Zoom. You refer to this right here. It's under tutoring. Right now, it's the only thing under tutoring. It's probably the only thing that's going to stay under there for now, unless I give you an update that I'm on Zoom at a time that's outside of this for you guys for applied math. So it's right there, just underneath attendance and announcements. That's how you join Zoom. Now, some people have had issues with internal errors and internal server something. I don't know what those are. I can't tell you right now. So, and I was going to say, hop on Zoom and then I can help you out with it. No, but I can help troubleshoot with you in other ways. If you text me, if we do kind of a, talk, things like that, we can try and figure out what's going on because I want to be able to get you guys on Zoom. I want you guys to be able to use your Zoom meetings and make that work. All right, so the next question here is, when will we start doing work and how will we do it? Well, we've been starting work since Tuesday the 6th, not the 16th, the school started the 16th, since Tuesday the 21st. Tuesday the 21st is when we started work. So I'm going to go back to this screen again right here. Actually, I want to go to another screen. Not that. That's for another class. I'm going to go to another screen for a moment here. When you go, when you start out your applied math, you go third period applied math, you start off on this stream page. This stream page is pretty clunky. It shows what I updated most recently, and if I share something on here, it would show and pop up. The stream page is nothing I ever look at unless someone actually types something. You shouldn't be on the stream page, guys. Go to classwork. Classwork is where you see some stuff cleanly laid out. Now, when will we start doing work? Of course, again, we started on the 21st, week 1. How will we do it? Well, the work goes in order from top to bottom. And I did mention this on the week 0 video, so I'm not going to get too deep into this. And it's on the how to IXL video, how to make sure this happened. Make sure that you're reading some stuff here. I'm just going to go back to the talk. Make sure you read the daily bulletins on the day of, so you're not bombarded 5 days late to figure out what all these things say. Make sure you read the daily bulletins, okay? They do say some stuff. It's not just me just typing just to type, okay? They're things for you to read. They are important. This one talks about academic integrity on the 30th as well. But they also do mention some things on like things that I put up, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you read this stuff as well. If you are watching a video on YouTube, one of my lesson video things, don't just click the link, read what it says, because you might not have to click one of these links. Maybe you only have to click this one. It depends on what it says there. Make sure you read what's there before you just go clicking away. The IXL ones, people ask me this a lot of times. Mr. Robinson, I don't know how to get into IXL. Did you read what it says? It says, I've decided to not use links for IXL because a lot of people aren't able to be signed in automatically, and then they start doing problems without being signed in. So I'm not bringing the link right here. To locate the assignment, go to IXL Math through your portal, and then search for the items either in the recommended section or search by the shortcut code. The shortcut code, if you go to view assignments, is right here, like 8P9. This is for part of week 1, so I'm not going to do that one right now. But 8P9 is the shortcut code for this one when you click on view code and do all that stuff. So we're in week 2 right now. These are optional. Skip that. Watch a video on distributive property or decide if you need to. And then you do this assignment, IXL Z.6. You could type Z.6, but I'll tell you what, sometimes it doesn't pop up that correct thing. So I would definitely go to the shortcut code here, G2G. I can just copy that right now. And then if I go to IXL Math through my portal, I'll ensure that I'm logged in. I'm logged in right there. And I'm just going to go and paste in G2G right here, and that'll be good enough. Multiply a polynomial by a monomial. There's only one thing that'll be there. See, if I type z.6, a lot of things pop up. And I don't even see them. Oh, here it is. Multiply polynomial by monomial. Problem is, z.6 is a section name for more than just the level K, the algebra 1 sections. So I would do the shortcut code G2G, and it's going to find that one specifically. You could also find it in, again, this is all in How to IXL. There's a video called How to IXL in the How To's section on my page. If you go to Learning and Recommendations here, you're not going to see it on my page because it's only partial. It's not for all my classes because it's not for Math 1. But over here, you're going to see a starred set for 5 or 6 subjects, activities recommended by your teacher or something like that. Suggested 5 skills suggested by your teacher, something like that. You can use the drop down there. Otherwise, once again, one more time, go to the search, G2G, multiply polynomial by a monomial, and you can find it there. If you're truly curious where I'm finding these things right now, I am underneath Learning, and within here, I'm currently in level K. That's algebra 1 based stuff right now, level K. And you should, if you find Z and AA right now, you'll see the start assignments right here. Don't always look here, though. You can for the algebra 1 stuff, but I might pop up some things from algebra 2 for quadratic equations. When we do transformations, it'll probably be out of a geometry section, so it'll be there. But if you saw me do my video where I did that speed run, this is where I did these ones right here. So a lot of different stuff there, guys, but we have started work. You're late if you haven't started it yet. So far, we've only done IXL, so you're going to find the IXL problem sets by using the shortcut code or the Learning or the Recommendations or something like that. So that's how, or that's where you find that stuff. And so how do you do it? You do it electronically through that. Once you do a problem, I'll know about it. You don't have to tell me anything. Could you help me get a better understanding on breaking down fractions into its number form? Okay, so I don't think we've done fractions here, so I think this is just a question on just math-based stuff here. Generally, I wouldn't answer this, but the main reason I want to answer is because I don't know what's actually being asked here. If you're talking about reducing a fraction, like say you have like 64 over 124, something like that. There are so many different ways to do it that, I don't want to spend a long time on it. But, you have to divide top and bottom by the same number. That's the end goal. You have to divide top and bottom by the same number. These can divide by 2, so I could divide by 2 over 2. These can divide by 4. These can't divide by 8 or 6. 64 can divide by 8, but 124 can't. So you got to divide by the same number on top and bottom. Let's just divide them both by 4, because I know they can both divide by 4. Once they can't divide by the same number on top and bottom anymore, then you're done reducing it to as much as you can. What is that, 31? So yeah, 16 over 31 is the most I can reduce that thing to, if that's what you mean by breakdown. You divide by same number on top and bottom. Reason why we divide by same number on top and bottom is because 4 divided by 4 is 1, and we really just want to divide this number by 1. Why do we want to divide it by 1? Because we don't want to change the value. What happens when you divide something by 1? The value doesn't change. We changed its appearance. We didn't change its inherent value. So when you do 64 over 124 in a calculator, it gives you some decimal, 0.5 something. 16 over 31, it'll give you that same 0.5 something decimal. So that's how you break it down that way. If you're talking about break it down, because it says, what did it say? To its number form. If you're talking about taking an improper fraction and making it a mixed number, for example, let's say you have something like 19 over 4, like that, and you want to make it its mixed number equivalent, what you got to do is you got to kind of divide 19 by 4 and figure out what its whole number equivalent is. Whenever I talk about fractions, I like to talk about pizza. Let's say that you had, and the number 4 is kind of weird, but let's say that you had pizza cut into quarters. I guess they're personal size pizzas. Let's say you had pizza cut into quarters, so 4 slices per whole pizza. And you have like unlimited boxes of pizza to eat. And you end up eating 19 slices of pizza. Then the question is, how many whole pizzas did you eat? How many whole pizzas? See, there are 4 slices per whole pizza. So you ate 4 slices. You ate 8 slices. Let's do a cloner here. Infinite cloner. You ate 12 slices, 16 slices. You didn't eat 20 slices, so I'm going to erase one of these right here. You ate 19 slices right here. So how many pizzas did you eat? You ate 4 whole pizzas in total. And then you ate 3 more slices out of another whole right there. That's 4 3/4. So this is equivalent to that, from improper fraction to mixed number. Now, that's how I talk about the idea. How do you actually do it? That's what we did. We divided 19 by 4. We took the number of slices, divided it by 4 slices per pizza to figure out how many pizzas total. 19 divided by 4 is 4 as the whole number, with 3 as your remainder. So when you divide here, this is the quotient, meaning the result of your division, the whole number, and this is the remainder, and then the 4 is how much it was out of. Now, maybe the fraction reduces in the end, but then the original fraction probably would have reduced. This is out of whole, so out of how much you were doing there. So that's the mixed number equivalent. I don't know how else this question is being asked then, though. Sorry, where is it? Breaking down into its number form. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else is being asked with that. And again, it doesn't have to do with the stuff we're doing right now, to my knowledge. But I hope that helps one of those 2 sets right there. Sorry, because, yeah, guys, make sure you're very specific in your questions. Otherwise, you'll get the puzzled look. I might answer it too broadly, not enough, things like that. So make sure you're asking specific questions so I know exactly how I can answer it for you. Okay, how are we going to manage to do these things? Okay, once again, I don't know what you're talking about here. My guess is, how can you manage to cover all of this list of stuff? So I answered a lot of that for the very first question here, cut back a worksheet. So if you want to get a whole answer, probably look back at that. How should you manage to do it? I would suggest going by its average that they're talking about. Spend a half hour a day on math. Don't cram it all on Monday. Don't cram it all on Monday. You might run into technical issues. You might find out you have questions to ask me on Zoom and you never were able to get there because you didn't arrive at that point. You might find out it's more than you can chew off, or you'll be too tired, or another teacher will throw a big essay on you on Monday and you got to start working on that. Work little bits at a time. See me on Zoom. Check those videos out in full if absolutely necessary. And if you're still having trouble, email me. I'll likely figure out where you're at with the stuff. Like I'll say, hey, how do you feel? Some students are texting me, some students are Zooming me, some students are asking me on assignments. That's good. But I want to get a feel of where you're at first, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll give you some slack and leeway and say, okay, why don't you just only get a 30 of a SMART score? Just get 3 questions answered, blah, 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 move on to the next one, just to feel out pace so that I'm working with you on bit by bit. But you manage through pacing well, through reading what's offered to you, through watching what's offered to you, and all that. But workload, the workload is what it is because of what we lost and what you have to know for going into Math 2. Remember, you pass this class, you're going into Math 2. I know some people are just graduating and saying, I don't need math anymore. I can't cater to lowest common denominator like that. This is the material we were supposed to be learning. Trying to do the best I can with it. How are you doing through all of this? I know this is math related, but I got asked. Thank you for asking that. Actually doing pretty okay. I'm not okay with the concept that we're confined in this. I don't know where the end is in sight as far as the shutdown and as far as distance learning and things like that. I don't know how long this is going to last, guys. It might last just the end of the school year, might last through summer, might start into the next school year. I don't know. That's the part that I'm kind of intimidated by. Not knowing can be kind of scary. If you knew, then you would know how to plan, and you know what to expect, and you know what you can, make sense of things. You can cope in a different way. That's the only thing that's kind of weird for me. And I miss you guys, of course, with that. It's hard not having a TA through figuring out some of these bits too. So I'm doing okay. I'm definitely, I'm getting to run, I'm getting some bit of rest. Some of you guys don't know, I had a concussion about 5 years ago and I still suffer from symptoms. So one problem with me is I'm always looking at a screen all day now. And looking at a screen all day is causing me some problems in my head, just a little bit there. So that's been I've been a little on edge with that. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting carpal tunnel as well, using mouse and keyboard. So the rest of it, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. And I'll tell you what, guys, with all the stuff you have to do, uploading this stuff is not easy. It's not just, click, go. I have to type a lot of stuff. Me doing this, it's easier to do stuff in class. A lot easier to do stuff in class. And troubleshooting all the distance learning stuff's hard. How am I doing, though? I'm doing okay. And I thank you so much for asking. I hope you're doing okay as well. I don't know. I don't really have much else to say. But it's right now. It's hard to pick this battle thing because I am trying to appease you guys. Trust me, I am. When it comes to saying, can you lighten up and do one less assignment? Then it would just go into the next week. So we're trying to figure, and that would push other things into the next week. So it's just kind of hard. I do want to appease you guys. I want to do what's best for you guys, though. And what's best for you guys is getting you ready for math too. So it's hard for me to get this battle that I can't really win, right? A losing battle of getting you guys to learn the stuff and getting you guys happy enough that you feel like it's, that it's the right amount of work. So there's that. All right, how many are there to solve an equation using substitution? Well, substitution method was the previous week, and how many are there? Probably how many ways are there? Regarding what we've been doing, we've seen 3 different problems. Let me pop this up. We've seen, how am I going to find this though? I guess I got to go to my YouTube video. We've seen 3 different problem types when it comes to solving using substitution, but there are only really 2 ways that you do it ultimately, the substitution step ultimately. What am I looking for? Week 1, using substitution. Is that the first one right here? I think so. So substitution method is right here, guys. When I take a look here, does it let me click? So one way to do it is when you have one variable by itself already isolated and you substitute it into the other equation. Okay. Now we had one with just a number itself, and then I linked you to another video here where we then had both how do I say this? The same variable isolated in both equations, and you still plug it into the other equation, but you kind of set these 2 expressions equal to each other. One form of substitution we didn't see, if I rewind this to the problem before it, one form that you didn't see is where one is by itself, but it's an expression, not just a number, it's an expression, and then you substitute that expression into the other equation. However, you did do problems like this when we go to the last problem type that we're looking at, when I fast forward through here, and you're looking at problems that are written in what's called standard form. Standard form where no variable is isolated and you have to isolate a variable within. So to answer the question here, how many ways are there to solve an equation using substitution? There are 3 different types of equations you're going to see for linear systems. The ones where one number is already by itself. One variable is already by itself. It says y equals, and it's either a single number or an expression. You're going to see some where the same variable is by itself in both equations, and then you just got to set the expressions equal to each other. And then the third type, going back to the standard form, you'll see some in standard form where you actually have to work to isolate a variable, get a variable by itself. Notice in this system, I got this x by itself. I subtract 7y over, and you can see that I isolated the variable, and then I substitute. But the 2 different ways that you substitute are either substituting the expression into the variable in the other equation, like this kind of problem, or like I said before, setting equations equal to each other, setting your expressions equal to each other when both variables, the same variable is isolated in both equations. Just set this equal to that, and then you solve. So 2 different ways to do it, and you'll see it in 3 different problem types. I hope that addresses that. Now that's week 1. Remember, that's week 1. We're in week 2 now. Again, I don't think there are any week 2 questions here really, so look at the old Q&A videos for week 2 based questions. All right, with that down, let's look at this. I think you should show how to do the word problem using elimination. Again, previous week here. And I actually look at the question below it. The world problems are a little too confusing. Either they're saying real world problems or word problems. If you're talking again about the previous week, these are kind of the same thing here. So I'll tell you what. Let's look back at what I provided for you last week in week 1 with the word problem stuff, because you see IXL here. Let's find the shortcut code. Let's find the shortcut code, NHR. I'm going to type NHR into the search bar here. NHR, and let's take a look at this problem here. Write a system of equations to describe the situation. And fill in the blanks. An employee at an organic food store is assembling gift baskets for a display. Not much that you know there. They're not telling you much. Using wicker baskets, the employee assembled 6 small baskets and 7 large baskets, using a total of 133 pieces of fruit. Using wire baskets, the employee assembled 3 small baskets and 7 large baskets, using a total of 112 pieces of fruit. Assuming that each small basket includes the same amount of fruit, as does every large basket, how many pieces are in each? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this into right here for you guys so you can see this and I can actually do some work on it. That's pretty big. There we go. We're going to set up 2 equations with this stuff. Okay, and it's really, look, they have a lot of information. They have wicker baskets and wire baskets, but notice that they're not really saying anything specifically about wicker and wire. They're just saying that here's what we can do with wicker basket. Here's what we did with wicker baskets. We made 6 and 7, and we could do this. And then with wire, we made 3 and 7, and we got this. And again, small baskets will carry the same amount of fruit whether you're using a wicker or wire basket. So the wicker and wire stuff's not really important except to say that that's what makes 2 different equations. So we're going to have a wicker basket equation with information on the number of baskets and the amount of fruit per basket and the amount of fruit total. Now, when it comes to making an equation, it gets a little discombobulated. So let's just look at the wicker basket set here. Let's ignore the 133 pieces of fruit right now. Let's say that we did know how many pieces of fruit you could put in each kind of basket. Let's say in a small basket, you could put in 5 pieces of fruit. 5 pieces of fruit per small basket. Then I ask you, how many pieces of fruit are in all 6 small baskets? If you can get 5 pieces of fruit, you're going to do 6 times 5. Of course, that number's 30. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about how we're multiplying this thing, figuring this out. Let's say in the large baskets, you could put in 10 pieces of fruit. I'm making these numbers up, but this is going to help you make sense of how these equations are being set up if this is the question that you have. Of course, I think my other video does mention that. But 10 pieces of fruit, how do you figure out how many pieces of fruit are in all 7 large baskets? You take the 7 large baskets and you multiply it by 10. Now, how do you find out how many pieces of fruit are in all of the wicker baskets total? Remember, this is just wicker baskets only. You would add those 2 things up. In this case, it would be 30 plus 70, which is 100. Now, that's not our numbers, right? We don't know how many pieces of fruit are in each small basket. We do know how many pieces of fruit are in them total, and we're going to use that information that kind of way. Now, let's say the number of pieces of fruit, where's the word small? Oh, small basket and large basket, right? So each small basket, I'm going to call X. Excuse me, not each small basket. Each amount of fruit in small baskets, right? There are X amounts of fruit in each small basket. There are Y amounts of fruit in each large basket. Why am I writing variables and why are they different? Because we don't know how many pieces of fruit there are. I made these numbers up, 5 and 10. We don't know how many there are, and we are going to assume that there are different amounts for small and large. Small, whether you're wicker or wire, it's the same amount. So it's 5 whether you have wicker or wire baskets. It just says how many you've made with wicker and wire. So I'm not going to put 5 in for the number of pieces of fruit for small baskets. We multiplied by the number of pieces of fruit, so we'll just put in X. 6 small baskets times the number of fruits in each small basket gives us how many pieces of fruit you'll get in all your small baskets with wicker baskets. I was going to say wicker wire. And then I'm not going to multiply by 10. I don't know if those are the answers or not. It doesn't look like it because that number was 100. We need 133, I think. I got to erase that too. So instead of 10, I'm going to put Y. 7 large baskets times the number of fruit in each large basket, same amount, is going to be 7Y. That's going to be how many we have in all the large baskets. And this equals 133. This is your wicker basket equation for information here. Now, there may be more than one answer just for this thing. That's why we make lines to graph these things with just one equation. That's why we build a system, though, too. So in the next one, so this is your wicker equation for wicker baskets. Now we're going to make a wire basket equation right here, which is going to say we assembled 3 small baskets times the number of fruit in each small basket. It's going to be the same as that one. Plus, once again, 7 large baskets times the number of fruit in each large basket there, and there are 112 pieces total in that set. So we're trying to figure out how many pieces of fruit are in each large and in each small. So at this point, you're really just solving for x and y, and then you're going to fill out that information as we go. Now, how do you do this part of elimination? That wasn't really the question. I'll do it for you, but I'm not going to explain how you do elimination too much. I'll just say what I want to strategically do. I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by -1 so that I can turn this into a -7y, because 7y minus 7y will give me 0. That's going to help. So minus, minus, minus. I multiplied everything by -1, and that helps. And now I can add down the list here. 6x minus 3x is 3x, okay? 7y minus 7y is 0y, or just 0, or I eliminate it, nothing there. And 133 minus 112 is 21. 3x equals 21, therefore x equals 7. There are 7 pieces of fruit per each small basket. We just solved for that. I just wrote x equals 7 right there, hopefully, because I can't fit anything else. Now, how do you solve for y? You can substitute 7 in for x into any equation that you have here. I'll choose the original 3x plus 7y equals 112. So I'm going to erase some stuff to fit it. 3x plus 7y equals 112. 3x plus 7y equals 112. So there are, I'm going to substitute 7 for x. There are 7 pieces of fruit per small basket. Hopefully there are more pieces of fruit in the large basket. Hopefully it did some of the math right, or they set it up with that in place. And I subtract 21 from both sides here, and I get, what's that, 91? And then I divide by 7, and I get 13 for that. So this isn't just an ordered pair answer. Make sure that you have context for what you did. There are 7 pieces of fruit per small basket and 13 pieces of fruit per large basket. So if I go back to answer this question here, small basket each includes 7 pieces of fruit, large one each includes 13 pieces of fruit. It's taken care of. Remember, you only had to answer 2 of these. This was from the previous week, but you only had to answer 2 of those. So set it up using elimination. All the problems look the same, even the ones I made in my video. All of them look the same as far as like different units, different things, but it's standard form, this per that, and they total to this. They all have the same look. So make sure you either watch that video, you pay attention to what I had here, and that should be good. Okay, I got to finish off because in 5 minutes I got to do my Math 1 Zoom things. Word problem's a little confusing. We took care of that. Will there be any big tests like finals during distance learning? Actually, no. We're actually using that time to cover all of our stuff here. So no cumulative final. Our final week will be still learning transformation. So you'll have another week, just like this week, you'll have another week of IXL stuff or my videos or whatever it is, and you'll be using that. You'll be using that and finishing off. So nothing cumulative. You lucked out. We were supposed to do it regularly, but of course we lost time. So no finals. So good question. No finals. It's not math related really, but do you think it's best if we take as much notes possible to prep for the final? So again, no final. Taking notes might be helpful because you're going to be using this stuff going into math too, but if you acquire the knowledge either way, it's no difference to me. So nothing cumulative for you guys. You're going to learn things week by week, and that's what you'll be evaluated on, that particular week's worth of information. So I guess you're not going to see systems of equations again now that we're in quadratics, unless the quadratics have systems, which I don't think they do. And last, I really don't understand the concept of all this workload and how I could make it easier. So it's kind of the same question as how do we manage all this? Once again, I'm just going to say, pace it out day by day. At least try and do a half hour a day. Pace it out day by day. Go to Zoom and ask me, and we can pace things out together. I can get this stuff done a lot faster with you if we do one-on-one feedback together instead of you not just watching a video through and not being sure how much you're supposed to watch. But pace it out. See me on Zoom. Ask me questions. That's really all I'd say. All this workload, again, that goes back to the very first question, guys. I'm going to argue it's a crammed workload, but it's not asking a lot of you. It's crammed, but I am giving the optional stuff. I'm giving smart scores of 50. One thing does lead to the other, and you know how to do some of it according to the surveys. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that'll do it for this one, guys. This is Mr. Robinson's Q&A Power Hour. I sure hope that you did appreciate all that I provided for you. Again, when we hit week 3 quadratics, make sure that you're asking questions that pertain to week 3. They'll probably pertain a little bit to week 2 because you'll still be doing factoring, things like that, but don't ask questions on systems of equations, things like that. You can ask me at some other point, but these videos are really meant for the week that we're on. Just keep that in mind. All right, so that'll do it here, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care.